Welcome back to the Coffee and Kidlet Show. My name is Travis D. Peterson, and I am a children's book author as well as a book designer. And I love to invite other children's book authors onto the show to talk about their books as well as their whole publishing journey. So if you're a children's book author, or maybe you're a parent and you're just really into reading books to your young children, this is the show for you. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. Today, I have a special guest with me. This is Brenda Halbin, which is the author of Pigtastic Pets, which is just a fun book. It's a bit different from the others that I've had on the show. Most of them have been storybooks, and this is more of a non-fictional book. So I'm looking forward to talking to Brenda about that. Welcome to the show, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Could you just kind of introduce yourself and tell us what you're into and a little bit of your background?
Okay. How far back do you want to go? So, a little bit about my personal life. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been together almost 45 years, which sounds totally crazy to me. We have a daughter, Tiffany, who has 4 children, and I have 2 sons, Derek and Jordan. Um, Jordan is married, and so we have a new grandbaby, Vivi. She's 1.5, and so I work full time for the state of Illinois, and I'm presently making products to sell at vendor events. So I'm hoping to get out in the public more and do book signings.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Almost 45 years, you said? That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
That's a little crazy
Um,
this day and age, anyway.
yeah. How, I guess, how long after high school did you get married?
We were in high school.
You were in high
Yep,
school.
yep.
Wow.
Rick was in his senior year, and so yep, we had
Yeah.
Tiffany really young.
Yeah.
But she's
Yeah.
been such a blessing. She does a lot of work at her church, and she actually just did a conference for 700 women. So she's the
Wow.
speaker in the family, not me.
Yeah.
But
Now,
yeah, so
are all of your kids and grandkids, are they around close by, or do they live in
no,
different
no.
parts? Yeah.
Tiffany and her family just moved down to Florida. So I haven't seen her in 2 years. And then Derek and Jordan are actually close by. So,
Yeah.
but Jordan wants to move back to Texas and take my little grandbaby with him. So not too
Oh,
happy about that. But
not fun. Yeah, I understand that.
yeah, for sure. So hoping they don't all go different directions.
Yeah.
So
Um,
you're in Norway, right?
I'm in Norway, and so we kind of see that from the other side of that as the child and parent, you might say. We're very close to both sets of our parents, my parents and my wife's parents, and so it can get tough choosing where to live and which set of grandparents get to see the kids the most.
Uh, for sure.
It's a challenge.
So how did you
Uh,
end up there? That's what I want to know.
yeah, so I met my wife in Hawaii. Actually, we were Christian missionaries with Youth with a Mission, which is a large Christian missionary organization, and one of their locations is in Hawaii, where we were. She was training, and I was a graphic designer for the campus there when we met. So yeah, we met there and got married in North Carolina, where I'm from. Lived in Georgia for a few years before moving here to yeah, be close to her family and allow me to sort of get to know her culture a bit. And yeah, so it's
Wow.
been about 6 years now since we moved here.
So you like
Um,
it?
it's a beautiful country. um, I
Wow.
miss home, though. I miss
I
home.
bet. Any
Yeah.
plans to come back?
we're talking about it. No definite plans yet, but it's certainly something that it comes up in conversation a lot. And that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about pigs. And we are thinking about doing like a homestead kind of thing, and keeping pigs as pets is much different from maybe the homestead setting, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
we could have some things to talk about, I think.
Yeah, I
Um,
grew up on a farm too, so I'm familiar with both sides.
yeah, so I grew up sort of in a suburban setting, and my wife did too. So we don't really have a lot of farming experience. I grew up next to my uncle's horses, but that's pretty much the closest I got to it. And I wasn't involved with that at all. I loved going over into the pasture, but that was about it.
Uh,
Um, do you have other pets besides the pigs now?
I don't have any pigs, actually. Let's
You don't
just
have
clear that
any
up.
pigs?
I do not. I've never had a pig. I've never held a
No.
baby piglet. I know. It's on my bucket list.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about then.
Yeah.
I
So I
was under
actually,
the impression that you had pigs, and so what brought up this book, Pigtastic Pets?
yeah.
Are you a fraud?
I know. It's crazy. It just kind of evolved.
Yeah.
Actually, I have 4 dogs and a fish aquarium. So,
Okay. Well, that's
um,
more than we have. We don't have any pets.
really.
So yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
No, my friend actually got a baby piglet. She'd always wanted one, and her
Okay.
husband surprised her with one. And she started posting videos. And so, they were cute and funny. And um, I thought, well, maybe we should do a book on Willie G. Um, but then the more I learned about them, the more I realized like how awesome they are. And so we actually then well, she got me involved in looking at Facebook groups. Started sending me invites to all these pig groups, and so that's kind of how it started.
Okay.
I learned a lot about them and saw how cute they were, and I'm like, somebody needs to tell their story.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about the book itself. What is Pigtastic Pets all about?
So it actually is all about their characteristics, what they like to do, how smart they are, what they eat. I mean, it's pretty much the whole gamut of everything that pigs know, and how they live, especially as a pet. So, yeah, because I mean, I don't think a lot of children realize that people keep pets in their home, and actually sleep with them. And they're not all cute little piglets. They get to be up to 1,000 pounds. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I just want people to know that um, what they're getting into, because a lot of people get them, and then they get bigger and bigger, and they realize that they're headstrong and they can push you around if you're not the boss, and
Hmm.
they end up getting rid of them, rehoming them, or just putting them out on the street. So there's a lot of rescues for pigs that are just full up.
Yeah. And I guess that was something that I had kind of, it had me a bit worried about the idea of having a homestead and keeping pigs is um, kind of, I hate to say it, but I'm a little scared of them,
Right? I
especially these
know.
big hogs. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they can get humongous.
Yeah, I mean, and they can get mean, and we talk about that in the book too. So like pigs have a pecking order, and so even if they're siblings, they will continue to test each other to see who's top hog. And
Mm.
they headbutt each other and push each other around. They can get mean and bite, and and whoever backs down is the loser, and the winner's the top hog. So they try to do that with their humans too. And so on this particular page, Holly is demonstrating how to use a sorting board to kind of be the boss and say, okay, you're going to go this way or do this or that. And it's important that you do that with your pig every day or two.
Okay.
So that you stay top hog.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want your respect.
You've got this great little infographic here on the left-hand side that shows different types of pigs and how light or heavy they can be. And
Yes.
a farm pig, 700 to 1,000 pounds. I mean, that is
Right.
just
Yeah.
humongous. I can't imagine pushing around one of those.
Well, I think that's why the board helps. It gives you a little bit
Yeah.
of pushback.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the biggest one of all, I can't see that, but like he's like over 2,000 pounds.
Oh,
So
wow.
the thing is, like, you just never know how big they're going to get. And a lot of breeders that are typically called greeders because they just are doing it for the money will tell
Mm.
people, you know, hey, this little piglet's a teacup or a micro pig and will only get to be 40 pounds. Well, they're selling piglets, first of all. And if
Mhm.
they have a pig that's older than that, it's because they're starving them typically
Oh,
to
yeah.
keep them little. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of people don't understand what they're getting into. I see it in the Facebook groups all the time. I just got this cute little piglet. Can somebody tell me how to take care of it? It's a little late to be doing your homework when you already have one in your house. So, you know, people really need to read up on them and ask questions before they decide if a pet pig is the right pet for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love this spread here where it's showing some of the artist pigs out there that can paint with their snouts. That's pretty fun.
Yes.
So what inspired you to publish this book? I of course I was under the impression you had your own pigs. But you have this friend who had a pig, right?
Right.
Um, so what made you decide that this was the book for you to put out?
You know, I never aspired to be an author. It's not something that was on my list of things I thought I would ever do. So it just really evolved. It started, like I said, from seeing her pig and how cute it was, and then learning so much more about them. Um, so my first thought was, oh, I'm just going to put together this little book myself. I can print it on Ingram Spark, and I'm going to buy this affinity program, and I'm going to create my pages to look like a scrapbook, and I'm just going to stick those pictures in there and put little cute, funny captions on there and just give it to a couple of my friends. And then my son was like, if you're going to do it, you really need to just do it. Like, make it a book. So I tossed
Mhm.
around the idea for like a year. And then he was just like, just write it, just start writing it. So that's when I started doing my homework, asking questions, taking notes, losing my notebook too a time or two. and and then finally just jotting down all these various different ideas about what this book should entail. So then I got thinking, well, okay, from a child's aspect, you know, what could they learn from pigs? So that's when it became more of an educational book. So I
Mhm.
thought, okay, we'll just do funny pictures and tidbits of information so that they're actually learning something and it could also be used in schools. So I think this book goes great with Charlotte's Web. Um, and so that's one of the things I'm going to target with teachers. I've done one class visit so far, and they had just read Charlotte's Web. So this was um, a good way for them to view, you know, the life of real pigs at that point. So it's just great discussion for them.
Yeah, I like that idea of kind of pairing this book with Charlotte's Web and other books maybe that are more like storybooks, fictional books. But if they want to
Right.
learn more about pigs, this is a good option because you really share a lot of information about pigs and a variety of information, and I can really tell that you did your homework, and it's a very educational book, and that's one
Thanks.
reason why I thought it would be fun to have you on the show to talk about this, because not only is it educational, but it's very entertaining as well. And I think you've really balanced that well. So, when are you getting your pig?
My husband says never. Well, for one thing, we have a lab. She
Yeah,
doesn't like cats, so I'm pretty sure she's not going to like pigs either. But they also can live up to 20 years, and that's just not a commitment I want to make at this point in my life,
gotcha.
you know.
Yeah.
But but not all of them live that long, and um, I think if I were going to have a pig, it would be the gene edited pig from China. They actually spliced the fat cells so that the pigs do only get to be about 45 pounds.
Hmm.
But they're messing with science and God's creation. And so they really can't say what kind of health issues they might have later on down the road.
Yeah.
But there's a pig in my book that is actually a gene edited pig. They cost $1,500, and I'd have to go to China to get one. So I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bit more than $1,500 just the trip to China
Uh,
to pick it up.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Um,
um,
so if you've learned a lot about pigs, and if you were to give some points to families for reasons they might want to have a pig as a pet, what would you say?
wow. So they are super loving, and I mean, people just say once you get a pig, like you just don't even realize how close you can be to them, and that no other pet will ever measure up. Um, they're loyal. So when people say, "Oh, this pig's too big, I'm going to have to rehome it," they grieve, they cry, real tears, and they go through a mourning process when they lose their family. So I just find all of this so fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
People just, I mean, they're just great companions. There's a lady in California that has a couple of pigs, and she takes them everywhere with her. And if she goes someplace and she doesn't have them with her, people are like, "Where's your pigs? Where's Poppy?" Poppy goes with her in restaurants, in grocery stores. There's a picture of her in the book with her little friend Daisy May in the shopping cart. They go to TSC. they go everywhere together. So yeah, it's just crazy. But if restaurants will allow them to come in, they can come in and sit at the table and eat, well, along with their pet parents. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so people are actually training them also to be therapy pets. They're emotional support animals, and like the book talks about, right now only dogs and horses can be um, service animals, which I didn't realize horses are service animals. I've never seen anybody with a horse with
Yeah.
a little service vest on, but
Right. I haven't seen any in the airports or on,
no, yeah,
yeah.
but yep, that's what I found in my research. So, um, but but pigs are right now are allowed to be emotional support animals, and so um, they're working on it. I mean, they're definitely smart enough to be service animals. There was a story of this man who had had a heart attack, and his pig broke through the door to get out of the house, ran to the highway, laid down on the road until a car stopped. And he actually enticed the man to follow him. And that man found his pet parent having a heart attack in the
Wow.
living room, and that pig saved his life. So they're super smart.
Wow.
I mean,
That's amazing.
they have the ability to think through situations that I don't
Yeah.
think people even realize.
Yeah.
So, and there's another story where they tested a pig to see if they had recall memory, and so they built this maze, and they hid some food in the maze, and so the pig found his way through the maze to the food. The next day, they tried it again, put the food in the same place, and added another pig. And so the first pig knew where that food was at and had the forethought to lead his little friend the wrong direction so he could circle back and get the food for himself. So,
No.
yeah, they're super smart. So,
I'm sure there's a lot more that we can still learn from pigs that maybe hasn't been
oh yeah,
discovered yet. Do you
right.
know how many different types of pigs there are?
Oh my, no idea. There's so
No.
many,
Okay.
and the fact that they, interbreed them too. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
tons.
There, I know there's a large variety, and we've talked a little bit about that. And here's a nice picture that shows a lot of different kinds that are out there, or types. I've been seeing a little
Yeah,
bit of the kune kune, I believe is how it's said, and I'm wondering if maybe this one on the left is a kune. But I
you know,
understand for homesteads they're a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to manage. They don't disrupt the ground quite as much and cause a lot of damage, so to speak. And I'm sure there's many other types too, but that's just one that
yeah.
I've heard of.
I think that would be one of my favorite too. I think they have like a really sweet personality.
That's what I understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And they seem to have I don't know if it's a longer hair, or they
yeah.
seem to, yeah. And
Maybe
the
these
black
types are.
spots are just so cute too. Yeah.
They're all colors. So like the one at the bottom, I thought it was called coon coon, but honestly, I don't know
Okay.
how to pronounce that. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're just super sweet.
Hmm. Um, well, if you're watching this and you really enjoy children's books, I want to invite you to my Patreon, patreon.com/launch mission. This is where you can sign up for the C&K Book Club, the Coffee and Kidlit Book Club. That's where I'll be sending out a physical copy from one of my guests, to the book club every month. And so if you'd be interested in getting a children's book in your inbox, in your mailbox, not your inbox, your physical mailbox, sign up for the book club, and you'll be getting those email. Also, if you really like this information, please hit the subscribe button. But we have more to talk about with Brenda Halbin about the publishing side of this journey. So we're going to just dive right into those questions and just get a little bit more information um, about her experience with that. So, Brenda, what what made you decide to? You talked a little bit about this, but what made you decide to choose a fact book like this instead of just writing like a fictional story of a pig?
So my husband kept saying, why don't you just have somebody draw the pictures? That'll be easier. But my thought was I wanted children to actually see physical, real, live pigs and what they look like in their environment. Um, People dress them up. They just have so much fun with them. And I just didn't feel like that could be portrayed just with picture. I mean, you could, but anybody can draw pictures. Like I wanted them to see what it was like in real life.
Yeah, I agree, and it kind of makes it I don't know if tangible is the right word, but to really see these
Yeah.
things as they really are instead of as illustrations for this purpose, I think really worked well, and it shows that variety and different personalities that the pigs can have, and I think that's really great. Um, there's been a bit of a discussion within the children's author community, and you and I are in some of the same Facebook groups, I believe, and I've seen
Right.
this discussion come up a little bit. The the balance between books that are entertainment only and educational books. And some people have said that you should really focus on the entertainment side, and there really should not be any education in it. If there is, it should really be in the background. You don't want to really notice it in a way. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Is there Should all books be entertaining, or is there a place like for yours, for instance, and maybe your opinion is biased, but is there a place for non-fictional educational books that are meant to teach things?
Yeah, so like there's the highlight magazines and the National Geographic magazines for children that I think do that really well. And I think kids are thirsty for knowledge too. So it's fun to read a funny book sometimes and take their mind off, the stress of school and homework and everything. But I think it can also be used to teach kids educationally with humor. And I think
Mhm.
when they enjoy a book like that and have a good time reading it, and have fun with it, it's going to help them retain that information if they're enjoying it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think that's a few reasons why um, maybe this kind of book would fit well with schools and with education.
Mhm.
And I plan to do another book in the future that is going to include a variety of animals instead of just pigs, and I want it to be about holidays, so it could actually teach several different things
Okay.
throughout the book.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to also mention, I way back when I actually took childhood development classes at school, and so I think that helped prepare to do this because some of our assignments was actually going to classes and scheduling time to spend with preschoolers, getting down on the floor with them, learning how they learn, play, pretend, and interact with them. So then we also had an assignment where we had to go to like first and second grade and read them stories. So I think it helps if you immerse yourself a lot in other children's books and do a lot of reading so that you can kind of learn how they learn and so how you can relate to them.
That's really good. I'm sure that that experience was invaluable, not only just in the publishing of this book, but in just understanding how young kids
Think
think and learn. Um,
exactly. And I think
yeah,
as adults, if you don't have children around you, it's easy to forget that. I think Izzy does a great job of being in touch with his inner child and how
yeah,
to relate with kids and how to be silly. And so that they have a good time, but then they're also learning.
yeah. That's for anyone who doesn't know. I believe that's Izzy B Books. Izzy B is a really fun author, children's book author, extremely entertaining, and does some really great author visits at schools and with puppets and all kinds of things. I hope to have him on the show soon,
Oh, that
but
would be
he's a
great.
busy man, so
He's
we'll see.
very busy. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. And so I also did some puppetry
yeah,
and directed some plays at our church and put together some skits and things. So I think it's just really important to stay connected with children so that you can relate to them on their level. It's easy, I think, to forget how to be silly, you know.
Hmm.
So
Well, I've been, like I said, thinking about this sort of balance between education and entertainment, and I really think, with every book we can sort of raise the bar on both of those. Yes, a book can be entertaining, but how can it also
yeah,
be educational? And I mean, you can use any entertaining book as a teachable moment.
sure.
There's always going to be lessons that you can talk about. But I think a third level is its sellability. And you've done a really fantastic job of not only balancing education and entertainment, but and the humor of the book, but also making it a sellable book. And I think the idea of these pigs as pets, or just pigs in general, is just a great way to grab the children's attention. And of course, you've got this pig on the front with the mohawk. Now, is this your friend's pig? Is that Did I
Well, I feel
read
like
that
I'm
right?
friends with everybody in this book now after we
Yeah.
put this book together. But this is actually Kevin Bacon. He lives in California, and his mother is a farrier. So she does pedicures and cuts tusks for a living.
Okay.
So yeah, he has different colored mohawks all the time.
Yeah. And actually, I think it's the same pig on the back.
Yep,
Is it the
yep,
same pig? Yeah.
it is.
So that's a different mohawk there.
Yeah,
Um, but going back to the sellability, I think just the amount of information that you were able to provide, and also the layout. I know Tia Perkin is the designer for your book, and I'm familiar
yeah,
with Tia. I think she did a really fantastic job of the design,
yes. I was
and helping
blessed
you
to
make
find
this
her,
book. Yeah,
and she was
absolutely.
available to help me. And you know, it's not illustrated per se, but she did a great job tying it all together and adding the cute little curly cues to look like piggy tails and make
Yeah.
it have a scientific vibe. So yeah, she did a great job.
So you could have easily made a book that was very educational but not very entertaining, right?
Yeah, right.
What did you do in this book to sort of add that entertainment value to it?
Um, you know, it just happened. Like
Yeah.
I realized how funny they were. Like I joined the Facebook groups, and I think that was the first thing that intrigued me. So the videos made me laugh, and the pictures were funny, and some of the pictures I would look at, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe pigs do that. So um, it just came naturally. I saw a great opportunity to just be able to pair all those cute pictures with the information about them to make it educational. So it just kind of all came together. Like I said, I never aspired to do it. It wasn't something I'd always dreamed of. It just kind of happened. My friends and my son pushed me to just do it. So they must have thought it was a good idea. And so it took me 2 years, but I finally got it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing like it when it comes in the mail and you're holding your first book for the first time.
Could you just walk us through the publishing journey? So your family kind of encouraged you and pushed you to do it.
Yeah.
What was it like, through every step?
Well,
Um,
so you got to do your homework. Oh my gosh, there was just so much research involved. So I talked with a lot of people that own pigs and asked all kinds of questions. And I read books. I went online and watched videos. And my husband even recorded a show for me once. He's like, "Here, you got to watch this. It's an educational, story about pigs." And um, how fast they can run and just how smart they are. And so I just took lots of notes. And then um, I was like, how am I going to end this book? I wasn't sure how I was going to end it after I provided all this information. And so I actually got the idea to write the poem in the back. And after I wrote the poem, I was like, okay, now I know how I'm going to end it. And then I worked backwards. And I actually wrote the book backwards. So I started thinking, okay, what do I not want to leave out? What's the most important thing I want to talk about? And so I actually put it in chronological order backwards.
Okay.
I don't know that everybody needs to consider doing it that way, but that's what worked for me. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't do it that way. But yeah, I actually wrote the poem.
Can we read the poem?
Sure. I wrote it to the tune of Sandra D. So.
Would you mind reading that?
Sure. It's time to say goodnight, my friends. Please hurry back and see us again. I've had my bath, my snack, and my hug. I'm all tucked in and snug as a bug. Wishing you sweet dreams, sleep tight. Sending my love, please have a good night.
One thing that really struck me about your book, and I think it falls in line with this poem, is that you did such a great job at connecting these pigs with the young readers who will be reading through it. You find ways to kind of find the similarities and how kids can connect with all of these pigs. And I think that's one thing that really made this book so entertaining. So I just want to say, well done.
Thank you.
I think you've got a great book. Where did you have it printed, by the way?
I actually had it printed at Maxim or Mixum.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how to say it. Yep.
Yeah.
Printing company. Just because they could get it to me in a quicker time frame than printing from China, which I may do eventually if I ever do a second run or another book. But they did a great job. And that was one reason why I didn't really necessarily want to use Ingram, because I wanted these pictures to be amazing. And I was afraid, copy paper wouldn't do it justice. So, yeah. And I chose the satin paper so that it feels really soft. So I know some kids have sensory issues, and I think they'll find this really soothing.
That's great. Brenda, do you have any final advice for authors out there who are thinking about producing a nonfiction book?
You have to do your homework. I know a lot of people write 17 books in a year. I don't know how they can do that and work full time, but I think it all goes back to learning how children learn. Another thing that we learned in child development was how to brainstorm. And so, like, you could take an idea, like, for example, write the word barn or farm in a circle, and then draw lines out from that circle and brainstorm ideas. So it could be pigs and all their characteristics, or it could be every farm animal that you can think of. And then we would use that to then break it up into subjects. So how can you teach about pigs through the food that they eat, or their living, where they sleep, what activities they like to do. And so you can do that, I think, with any topic. I forget what that's called when you draw a circle and draw the lines out, but absolutely using ideas like that to just brainstorm and get the basics down for what it is that you're trying to teach.
Sort of like mind mapping, or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
you can brainstorm that with any topic, and for any age level of children. And then
Yeah.
I also researched vocabulary. I think it's important to determine what age group that you're going to present this to. And so I researched vocabulary for kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. So this book may be a little bit older for kindergarten. But like with my granddaughter, Vivi, she's 1.5. And I gave her the book, and she's already pointing and saying pig. So I think even if they don't know how to read, they can definitely learn from just looking at the pictures. So it's kind of a picture book, but then it's also written for older children too. And so some of the words may be a little difficult for first and second grade, but it's definitely a teaching tool. Um, Whenever I had my class visit, um, my niece said that pigs can get pneumonia. And this little boy raised his hand and he goes, "But that word starts with P, and you didn't say P." And she said, "That's right, that P is silent." So it was a teaching moment, because not all kids know how to say the word pneumonia or what it even looks like. So,
Yeah.
so I think it's just important to try to keep it in simple terms for the younger ones, but you can go ahead and challenge them with a few more difficult words, because there's no reason why they can't learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. I like to push their vocabulary a little bit and go a little beyond maybe what they suggest with words at certain ages, just to just to stretch a little bit
Right.
and yeah.
And engage
I
them
think
to ask questions.
yeah, and I've realized that books from decades ago had a much broader vocabulary for that same age group than they do
That's true.
now. So I think we can definitely stretch it a bit. I do have a comment from someone who's watching on Facebook right now. I like more subtle lessons typically, but have a new series out for new readers that has a brain lesson in each book. This one is a bit more in your face type of lesson. So yeah, I think like this watcher said, you can have different levels of education in the book, and depending on what kind of audience you're going for, and yeah, what you're wanting the book to really be about. So,
Absolutely.
Brenda, what's next for you? What are you working on?
Well, this summer I'm going to focus on my vendor events, and trying to connect more with teachers. And then eventually, I do want to do my next book with pets and holidays. And then I also have another book that I would like to eventually publish that my son wrote. Jordan wrote this book about a blind rooster when he was in high school. And I had
Yeah,
always encouraged him to publish it. And he said, "Nope, just did it for fun. Don't want to make any money at it. Nah." And I
yeah.
said, "Well, then let me have it." And he said, "No." And so finally I'm like, last year, right before my birthday, I said, "Hey, I know what I want for my birthday. I want your book." He goes, "Fine, do whatever you want with it." So that's kind
Fine,
of on the
mom.
back burner. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay." But
yeah.
he did all the artwork and stuff on GIMP, and it's clip arty, but it's just funny. But I have to be sensitive because it's about a blind rooster, so I'm not quite sure, how people will take that. I'm sure
Mhm.
that there's going to be people that don't like that idea because we're talking about being blind, and you have a book also, right? So about hearing loss, and so
Right.
it's a touchy subject, so I'm not quite sure how to go about doing this one.
Yeah, it can be a touchy subject, and I think that's where the value of sort of using your beta readers and reaching out to maybe some sight impaired readers to get their take on it and seeing
Yeah.
if if there's anything offensive about it, or I
Right.
would assume it being a rooster, I think you could have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
But
So it's,
don't take my word for it.
yeah, I know. And I did have Tia read it, and that was the one thing that she suggested too was to get
Hmm.
some beta readers and see what they think about it. But it's just about inclusion. He
Hmm.
gets to participate in all the barnyard games, and all of his barnyard friends, um, love playing different games with him, like pin the tail on the donkey.
Yeah.
And yeah, just jump rope and just fun games that kids like to play. Duck, duck, goose. And he's kind of poking them with his little,
Uh-huh.
his little blind stick thing, duck,
Oh
duck,
yeah.
goose. So,
Yeah.
it was just funny, and I couldn't believe he actually even thought of this in high school. And so I'm hoping to share it. We'll see what happens. It's a work in
Yeah.
progress.
And the holiday book, is that just sort of, do you have anything written down, or is it just kind of brainstorming right now?
Yeah, right now I'm
Um,
just brainstorming. So I just thought it would be fun to include other animals besides just pigs, but then also they dress them up in so many costumes. So I'm like, well, then why not make it about holidays and teach children about different various holiday traditions and where those meanings came from, along with the funny pictures. So that's kind of my theme. Um, I like it.
yeah.
I think it's fun, and I think kids enjoy it.
Well, keeping pets as pigs, or no, keeping pigs as pets, excuse me. It's an unusual pet, I would say. And I know on the front of your book here, you have Pet Cyclopedia #1. And I
Right.
really think you've got something that could grow here. If you think about other unusual pets, that maybe people aren't so familiar with,
Yeah.
you have a lot of options there. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what you do, and I hope you see success with not only this book but the future series. Um, this
Yes.
this came out last year. What month was it published?
I believe it was in May.
May. Yeah. So you're coming
Yes.
up on your anniversary.
Yes.
Well, Brenda, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a fun conversation with you, and uh, yeah, really appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a blast.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to invite everyone to join me in 2 weeks for my conversation with J.L. Rames. She is the author of A Pirate at Sea. Um, And you can see it's not sea like the ocean, but see like what you do with your eyes. So just a little hint at what the story is about there. It's a fun book, and I'm looking forward to talking to the author about that. So join us in 2 weeks. And until then, my phrase for this year is write the book. So go and write the book. Thanks a
Absolutely.
lot, everyone.
Thank you.